A big story this morning, Governor Andrew Cuomo's resignation. He will resign after a report from the state attorney general found that he sexually harassed 11 women.
So his decision comes as the state assembly had begun to organize impeachment proceedings. Joining us now is New York State Senator Todd Kaminsky. His district represents parts of Long Island. He's also a former federal prosecutor. So Senator Kaminsky, thank you for joining us. Good to see you this morning.
Great to be with you.
So first and foremost, let's get your reaction, right? What do you make of the governor's decision to actually resign? I know many people thought he was going to not do that and wait to see how the impeachment played out.
I was stunned. You know, the governor's a political brawler, and I had assumed that he would wait until the last possible moment. But I think it's important to understand that in New York, when you're impeached, you're immediately removed. And I think that would have been a really difficult and unceremonious way in the governor's mind to leave. You literally have to evacuate your own home and leave the executive chamber. And I think yesterday was really about buying himself 14 days where he could figure out the next steps of his life. He saw no support in the public. He saw no support in Albany. The Attorney General's report was frankly detailed nauseating behavior that was just not acceptable. And so I think this was about him trying to dictate his exit on his own terms.
Yeah, and I think some people would even describe it as him trying to control that exit, if you will. Also, Senator, I want to ask you, because everyone's trying to figure out, okay, what happens next? Will we still continue to see an impeachment trial? Could the governor face criminal charges as well?
Well, you know, I was a former prosecutor, and whether someone is in power or not has really nothing to do with your mission. You gather evidence, and if that evidence equals a crime, then you pursue it. So the DA's offices, as well as the Department of Justice in Brooklyn, where I used to work, and the U.S. Attorney's Office with respect to nursing homes, they're still going to continue their probes, and they should. What they come up with, they will obviously have to tell us, and whether they move forward is a decision they'll have to make. But those things just don't go away. What I can tell you is that it's important for all of New York to get behind and root for and help our incoming governor, Kathy Hochul, as much as possible. I know her; she's competent, a good person. But her plate is going to be really full, and it's going to be a tremendous challenge. And whether you're Republican, Democrat, suburban New York City, whatever you are, we want Kathy Hochul to succeed. Her success will be our success.
And I want to just stick with the topic right here of harassment allegations for 1 second before we get to Kathy Hochul again. And that's that Governor Cuomo's impeachment probe was also going to look at the handling of the nursing home crisis during the pandemic, also that pandemic book and the sales surrounding it. So you're part of the state Senate. You would have served on really what would have been the jury if the impeachment proceedings had begun. What happens now with those investigations? What are you hearing from your partners in the assembly?
I think there's a difference between releasing findings and moving forward with an impeachment vote. And so I think it's wholly appropriate for the assembly to want to say this is what our lawyers and our team have uncovered. Whether that then results in an impeachment vote and a trial is a different question. And I would have to think that going into that consideration is what it would mean for the victims of this harassment to have to really go through some type of trial. So I don't know whether the assembly is going to go forward with impeachment, but certainly their findings on the book deal, on nursing homes should really be put forth to the public. I think the assembly has done hard, painstaking work on that, and I do think the public wants to know the answers there.
Yeah, let's get back to Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul. As you mentioned, you've worked with her in the past. A lot of people trying to figure out how well she can fill these shoes and get caught up to speed, if you will, as you discussed, because there's a lot on the plate. Was there a lot of, conversations between Governor Cuomo and Kathy Hochul in preparation for this? Do you have any idea along those lines?
And that's why I think these 2 weeks are going to be really critical for her. But I know that Kathy Hochul's been working hard. She came out to Long Island a couple of weeks ago. I happened to have breakfast with her, and she's just crisscrossing the state, learning. And I think she saw that whether it was now or later, she might have to fulfill this role. So she's been preparing. She's a really hard worker, and she's been crisscrossing the state, unceremoniously as the lieutenant governor, waiting in lines in airports, leaving at 5 a.m. from Buffalo. She's been doing work in the shadows, but she is ready for this and has been preparing. And I just also want to make a larger point to everybody that I take away from all of this, which is New Yorkers should not have to choose between having strong and effective leadership on one hand and having good, kind, honest, decent people on the other. Those two things could coexist in a single person. So I think Kathy Hochul's really even-keeled and kind demeanor is going to, I think, be a nice change in temperament in all of them.
And Kathy Hochul famously drives to every county county in New York State every single year. It's also ironic that she is now taking over after the sexual harassment allegations. She also served in Congress after her predecessor was involved in a scandal of his own. So Kathy Hochul really taking over at an interesting time. A lot of people quickly here are asking why this 2-week period, why not resign on yesterday and let Kathy Hochul take over immediately? Do you really need a transition period of 14 days?
Yeah, I think the governor wanted, as long as he thinks the public would give him a leash to stay. He literally doesn't live anywhere else. So he's got, I'm sure, has to find a place to live. He's got to get all his stuff out. He's got to figure out if there's going to be anybody who's going to be with him in his next phase, and what he's going to do next. I mean, look, he's obviously will still have many criminal and civil challenges, but where he's going to be fighting those, with who, under what circumstances, I think he wanted 2 weeks to try to figure that out. Whether that's needed or not, that's certainly something that he wanted. But I do think having incoming Governor Hochul, learned as much as she can from, there are still in Albany dedicated and talented people in government, help her out with that and have her pick who she's going to surround herself with, I do think can be helpful.
All right, Senator Kaminsky, thank you for your time today. We do appreciate your insight.
Thanks so much.